Good evening, and if you're just tuning in, you're listening to United Public Radio Network, otherwise known as either UPRN or UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 out of New Orleans, Louisiana. And we are going out to every country in the world. This show is called The Angel Rock. I am your host, Lorilei Potvin. I'm another co-host. Sorry, my mouth doesn't want to work tonight. Co-host also of a secondary show on the network on Thursday nights, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, called The Thing at the Foot of the Bed with my co-host, the amazing David Hansel. But you're here for the Angel Rock. I'll tell you a little bit about myself if you've never been here before. I am a clairvoyant medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, a spiritual teacher and mentor, and also a registered nurse. And I see you guys all piling in. Going to repeat this a few times. If you're on Facebook, please hop over to streamyard.com/Facebook. All you have to do is click to give them permission. It will show your picture. It will show your name, because otherwise I don't know who you are. You just come up as Facebook user. So hi there, Facebook user. Unless you just want to type your name when you leave a comment, then I'll know who you are. Anyways, as I was saying, I think I'll repeat myself. I got distracted there. I'm a Canadian clairvoyant medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher and mentor, and a registered nurse. Now, my show, if you've never been here before, I cover all aspects, I say, of the esoteric, the spiritual, the paranormal, as well as a bit of truth seeking thrown in here and there. Always ends on a positive note. Now, my guests that I have are from all walks of life, and depending on what they do, whether it's professionally or extracurricularly, they make a positive change for humanity. Now, tonight we were supposed to have a guest. We had a scheduling snafu. We were going to pre-record yesterday, but we're going to try and do it this week. So we'll see. He may be on next week. He's been on before, Michael Roser. We will definitely have him on. He is amazing. Always a great conversation. He just did a documentary on Montauk, and he's making a part 2 to it. He actually filmed there. He caught some great stuff. And I know he's taking a trip to Belize, I believe it is in April, to go check out the pyramids down there on a dig. It's quite a fascinating story how he got involved in it. So he knows a lot about UFOs. He's also involved with GUFON. I know he's done some work with Third Phase of Moon on YouTube. So, and he has his own YouTube channel, and I feel like a terrible friend. It is paranormal. I got to look him up, guys. I apologize. Give me one sec as I do that. Let me see, as I type his name in, it's something paranormal, and I feel so bad. I should have been ready for that. I was ready with a different podcast I'm going to speak about tonight. Hi, Zach. I see you there. Dark Hour. You know what? I just remembered Dark Hour Paranormal. How could I forget? So he is, hopefully he'll be on in the next few weeks. If not, he'll be back when he gets back from Belize. And then, boy, are we going to have a story. So tonight you just have me, and I could have done a replay. I do have some pre-recorded shows sort of banked if I need them. But I thought, you know what? I haven't hung out with you guys in a long time. Just us, and sometimes it's nice to do that. So you guys, if you know you've been here before, like Zach Man, our Facebook user who's here, if you want to join in the comments, I should let you know as well. All you have to do is either go to UFO Paranormal Radio, whether you're on Facebook or our main YouTube channel, then I will see your comments. And if you've been here before, you know I love to read your comments, your questions, make you part of the show, because without you guys, there is no me. So I love having you here. And if you like what you see here, check out the rest of the network. We have incredible shows for everybody, every facet of life. There's always something. So make sure, please, to subscribe, to share, and tell your friends about ourselves. We do broadcast to every single country in the world, believe it or not. So tonight, I thought we'll start off with a little bit of a topic. And then we had quite a discussion, if you were there. Some of you guys follow both shows, on the thing at the foot of the bed. And we had a pretty intriguing discussion. So we'll see where things go. And we might even do some readings. I've pulled out some, I don't need cards, but hi, Christina Lantis. I like to sometimes offer readings. If you guys want to do a reading, we can do that sort of the latter part of the show. I don't need the cards, but it helps when we're doing a one question reading. You get to see something visual rather than seeing me just pull something out of the air. Now, you guys have heard me talk about this a little bit on previous shows in the last little while. It's this podcast I found called Next Level Soul Podcast. The host is Alex Ferrari. He used to be a director in Hollywood, and it's a pretty incredible podcast. What I do want to do for you guys, so before I head over there, I just remembered to do this. So hang on. I want to make sure it's streaming on my Facebook profile. And I find that if I do that for you guys, then people that are, because you can see it there. I don't know if I'll be able to see the comments, but yeah, I am live on there. Hang on. Don't scroll away on me. There we go. Did I disappear myself? I did. Just let me pin it to the top. Did I disappear myself? I did turn it down, but it decided it wasn't going to do that for me. So hang on. We will pin it. There we go. Now I got it. Usually I have a guest that's talking when I do it. So I'm doing two things at once here. Hi, Joanna. Oh my God, I know you so well. It's a friend of mine, Joanna Garfey McNally. One of these days, we're going to get her on here. She was part of a podcast with a very good friend of mine, Lois T. Martin, who is on hiatus right now. So we'll try and get Christina on here. You said you were at my Facebook profile. It's not. It should be there now, Christina, because I just pinned it to the top. I know I'm streaming there. Here, I'll even show you. If you can see, there I am. Right at the top, I pinned it. So I'm finding with the events, because this is what StreamYard does when you book it, it creates an event. And for some reason, it doesn't work very well. It'll sometimes get the wrong time, or people will say the link doesn't work, and it never shows up anymore. It used to show up before the show. Now it shows up right when you go live. So hopefully, but you're here either way. Oh, you said it is working. Okay, good. Yeah, because I just pinned it. So I wanted to start with something. Like I said, I was talking about the Next Level Soul podcast. I was not looking for this podcast. I have quite a few favorite podcasters. I'm a bit of a true crime buff as well, and kind of scare the heck out of my own real life partner. And he'll say, "Why are you watching that? It's kind of creepy." And I've said to him, I've been with you for years. Believe me, I've never hurt anybody in my life. I've never even hit anybody. I'm not getting any ideas. I'm almost wondering whether it's trying to understand the psyche behind the things that some human beings do to other human beings. So I'll give them a shout out too. Grizzly True Crime. If you get to check her out, amazing lady, well organized. She is from South Africa, over in the Netherlands. Has a really hilarious second channel called G&T, where she makes up kinds of characters. She never makes fun of true crime victims, just so much empathy for the families and people involved. It's just such a great community, and it's nice when you find a really positive, supportive community. Fast forward to the Next Level Soul podcast. As most of you know, I do. Hey, Jacqueline Dunn. Oh, you love all my purples, do you? That's my cousin. You guys have to give her a shout out. Just love her. She's like a niece to me. Anyways, I make resin pieces, and you guys know I do if you follow me for a while, and I'm usually doing it in my spare time. It's actually when I do a lot of my meditation and everybody's asleep and it's quiet, and you just get immersed in creating something. So my hands were covered in resin, and I have some YouTube usually on autoplay, listening to something while I'm creating if I'm not just enjoying the quiet. And this podcast started playing, and it was a near-death experience. Somebody was talking about, his interviews are usually about an hour. It was quite profound, as I usually find near-death experiences are. I've studied them professionally and personally for over 40 years. I believe I had a near-death experience as a toddler. Then it started playing people that were channeling. And I've always been fascinated by people that channel, because I do believe they're not faking it. They have a total personality change, and each person that channels, right from one of the first ones that used to channel Seth. I know her first name was Jane. Anybody remembers her last name, feel free to share it here, but it was in the 60s. And the first one I heard was a lady by the name of Sheila, who channels a collective called Theo. And she's been around almost as long as the lady who was channeling Seth. And it was really fascinating to hear what she was saying. And I wanted to check out a bunch of the other channels. And what's kind of cool is these people don't know each other. They don't. They're from all corners of the globe. I believe there's one from Canada that I saw, South Africa, a few from the United States, and so on and so forth. And although they weren't using identical words and they weren't channeling identical collectives, one lady works with the archangels, one it's just called the guides. That was gentlemen, actually. There's quite a few men that do this as well. Theo, they never really said, it was just higher beings. Some people channel the Galactic Council of the Arcturians. So, but it was interesting the messages that were coming through. And they were quite powerful, and they were pretty well almost saying many of the same things, but not using identical words, obviously. And some of the things that sort of hit me that were profound, and especially if you're a little bit into the spiritual type community, even if you have a broader scope with your mind, opening it to different collectives, whether it may be even ufology or even within the paranormal, whatever it may be. And one of them said, we always hear that we're all a part of each other. And although we say it, even as myself as a light worker, I think what really hit me was the way when this person was channeling and they said, what I do to you is what I do to myself. And I watched a few more near death experiences, and people were trying to explain this about the love and how you really get how everything, every atom, every molecule, from a rock to a grain of sand to a human being to animals, how we really are all connected. And I started thinking with a lot of the questions and people I talked to off air. I spent a lot of my time doing that. Excuse me while I grab a drink. A lot of people are having a tough time. And it's especially with what we've gone through for the past 3 years. We're not going to get into all the seriousness. We're going to get into some of the spooky and the paranormal too, guys. So hang in there, because I think this is helpful. And what it is I keep getting this from spirit too, that we have forgotten who we are. And what I mean by that is how incredibly powerful we are. For those of you that look into ufology or different extraterrestrial species, and we hear how evolved they are, how they can communicate with telepathy, all these things. I believe as human beings we can do this. And I kept hearing this repeated over and over, whether it was people sharing their near-death experiences, people that are sharing their channeling. And I think that's so important. The other thing I keep getting from spirit is that I think as a human being here, that we're meant to be in balance, because everything's in duality on this planet. Heard the earth referred to as Earth School. And I don't know, I believe this, especially being a medium. It is lined up wherever you believe souls exist beyond this existence right here in this human existence to come here. So every one of you that is here should be commended for your courage, because you decided to come here, whether you believe it or not. You did. Your life wasn't all mapped out for you. I don't believe that. But I thought I'd share some of the things, and I actually kind of channeled this weekend, and I posted it in my profile. So I'm going to read it to you. And it says, some simple advice for many problems in life. Number one, trust that you are not alone and that you're always looked after. And you are. You were never, ever, ever alone from the minute you were born until the minute you transition, as I call it, going back home. You may not be able to see, feel, or hear your guardian angels, your guides, what have you, but trust that they are there. Even if you don't believe in that kind of thing, they believe in you. Number two, you are always in the perfect space at the perfect time. And we are. And I think that's really important when we start thinking about the future, what's going to happen, depending on who you talk to and what you read and what you follow. A lot of people are in a space of fear right now, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But if you think about it, all we really have is now. And that word right there is already in the past. Can we get it back? Nope. And we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So I think what that means basically is that we're, we got to kind of make the most of every moment that we're here. and enjoy it. Take it for what it is. Now, again, it's not a fun thing when we go through difficult things. Nobody enjoys that unless maybe you're a sadist or something. But the point is, I think it's all about perspective. So when you look back on that experience that you've gone through, usually some time has passed, right? And when you look back on it, there's either a lesson in that, either it's made room for something better in your life, or it can open your perspective, opportunities. There's many, many different reasons, even for the fact that sometimes when we go through something difficult, it's like it's holding a mirror up to our face for us to take a look at our own lives. And especially when we meet people that really rub us the wrong way, or we don't like them, or they just push our buttons. There's usually a message in everything that we do. It's a matter of how we look at it, what perspective we give it. So number 3, laughter really is the best medicine if you're feeling stuck or at a crossroads, or maybe you're just not really sure where to turn. And I meet a lot of people at this, like when I have, we do readings, they book a reading with me or what have you. And this is with no judgment or anything but love for people that I'm so grateful that we're able to connect and talk and hopefully make that connection for you with your guides. But what I added with that was always choose what brings you joy. And even going back to those channeling sessions I mentioned a few minutes ago, that was really what they were talking about, going back to what brings you joy. Some people say, I don't know what brings me joy. So if you're not really sure what brings you joy, journeying back to your childhood and look at what brought you joy. What made you the happiest when you were young? Back when we were young, we didn't have bills to pay. There weren't these complicated relationships maybe we're having or anything else going on in life that adulting brings. We were just able to live in the moment. It was pure unconditional love, right? Our work was play. It was fun, right? There was no hatred, there was no racism, there was none of these things that we worry about in this space and time as adults. So that's why it's a beautiful space to go to if you're not really sure what brings you joy. And then I added, so look at what brought you joy. It's one of the best places to start. Everyone has a funny movie or even a funny story they've experienced. Revisit that memory or pull that movie out. Hang around with friends or family, etc., who bring a smile to your face, or just spend some time being good to yourself. And that's one of the things that I think that we forget to do, is to be good to ourselves. Many of us are good at giving, but we're not good at receiving. And even so, how does receiving fit in with being good to yourself? A lot of people don't want to do that, right? They want to take the time. There's too much to do and what have you. But another saying I learned early on in this journey of light, being a light worker, is that we can't pour from an empty cup, right? And then it kind of made sense when you're on an airplane and the flight attendant steps out with the oxygen mask and says, in the event that the oxygen mask drops down, cabin pressure drops, make sure to put your own mask on before traveling, say with small passengers or anybody beside you. Years ago, I used to hear that and think, well, that's really selfish. No, of course I would, if somebody needed help with their mask, I would help. I get it now, because I might be able to help maybe 1 or 2 people, helping them with their mask, and then I don't have any oxygen. But if I put my own mask on, think of the people you can help. Well, it's kind of the same thing. By nurturing yourself and by basically loving yourself, right? You've got a lot more to give to other people. It's almost like it rejuvenates yourself. And it lets you know, sometimes we feel like we're lost, right? Sometimes you run into people that just take, 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 take. And a lot of people are givers, but after a while, sometimes a little bit of resentment builds up. Good way to be good to yourself, because only you know what you need to make you feel good, happy, and going to that place of joy. Excuse me. So I said, spend time being good to yourself with whatever that might be, with 0, in capital letters, guilt about that choice. The laundry or paperwork or whatever needs to get done will always be there. But by investing in some time in self-care will be invaluable as you navigate and take care of whatever was momentarily put on hold to take care of you first. And I also want to add to that, and I'm still working on it myself, be okay with saying no. Okay, know what your limits are, know what your boundaries are, and it's okay to say no because I'm one of those people, I'll say yes, and then I got juggling a million things on different plates and what have you, and I love to be busy and obviously to help other people. But whenever there's something for us to work on in our life, it's like the universe keeps presenting it over and over. And for myself, and especially for the last couple of years, it's been boundaries about where there you go, Christina. Truth boundaries help. Exactly. So know what your boundaries are. And if you don't, maybe spend some time exploring that. What does that look like? When do you feel maybe when you feel resentful or you just feel exhausted, you feel like you're being pulled in 20 different directions and what have you, right? And that goes back to self-care, spending a little bit of time in quiet if you're able to, even maybe what meditation can do for you. And meditation isn't just for spirituality. There are CEOs that do this, there are professional athletes. Many people in the world meditate because once we quiet the frontal lobes of our brain, which most of us think run our lives, and it's kind of just the computer, whether you want to call it the subconscious, the higher self, whatever. That's kind of what the operating system is, and it's working at all times. But sometimes we need to quiet that. I used to hear this in the beginning years ago, working with different mentors. That was called the monkey mind. I hated that term, but I kind of get what they were talking about, right? When we can quiet that, and every one of us is able to do this, we can we can connect. We can connect with our guides. Hey, Julia, welcome. We can connect with our guides. We can connect with higher beings. Spirit, as I call it collectively, will hold classes with you. If you really want to know about stuff, they will hold classes with you. And believe it or not, our higher self or our subconscious really does know all the answers. So even when you've got a problem and there's no solution in sight, if we can get into that relaxed state and quiet our minds, even if you really want to know what's wrong with you, say you've got something going on with your body, get yourself quiet. It only takes a couple seconds once you've got those moments of quiet and ask your body, what is wrong? Like say maybe you've got a pain in your arm or pain in your stomach or pain, and ask and trust what you receive. I'm no better than anybody else, nor is anybody else who has stepped up and is connecting with spirit or has been doing it their whole lives. We all have these gifts, whether you want to call it, I trust my gut, intuition, you name it, we can do it. And that's where this conversation kind of started with, why I keep getting from spirit. We have forgotten who we are and who we really are and how powerful and incredible, not from an ego sense, but we are capable of so many things that we've been told that aren't possible. And to be open to the possibilities and exploring it, it's kind of like a muscle. Sometimes you got to go back to it, start working with it. And when you do, wow, watch how things change. So getting to number 4, I said, remember the miracle that you are. Out of billions of possibilities in the moment you were out of billions of possibilities in the moment you were conceived, it is you who resulted in who you are today. You are more incredibly stronger than you think and more capable powerfully in ways that you have never dreamt of or believed was even possible. You always have been and always will be enough, and you are worthy of everything and anything. So, repeating, I am enough and I am worthy. Even if you may not feel it or believe it, eventually it becomes ingrained in your psyche. And remember who you are. So, because many of us are the worst enemy we could ever be than anybody we've ever encountered in life. That self-talk that we have within our minds, how we speak to ourselves, the things we beat ourselves up about, especially from the past. And it's kind of like that analogy. I don't know if you've ever heard it before, but worrying is like sitting in a rocking chair and hoping by rocking that, say you're on one side of you're over in Oregon and you think by rocking you're eventually going to get to New York. You're never getting there, right? It's kind of the same thing with beating ourselves up over the past. So, looking at things that we haven't been able to let go of or forgive, especially ourselves or other people. So, working on those kind of things. So, if you will, looking at that inner healing and working on that self love. I'm still a work in progress, as I think we all are. But by doing that, and this is another thing that used to drive me crazy, is to hear this all the time. Raise your vibration, raise your vibration. I say, what the heck does that mean? So if you look at the scientific thing of that everything is energy, right? And one of the laws of energy is it can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transferred from one place to another, right? So with everything being energy, that includes our thoughts, our words, and our emotions. Okay, so when we have that inner voice, right? And just as I said, we repeat to ourselves, I am worthy and I am enough. Eventually, when the mind hears it enough, it begins to believe it, whether we think we're going to believe it or not. So the things we call ourselves, the things that we say, the things that we think, okay, those are powerful things. There's a reason why when you look into Wicca or witchcraft or whatever, spells work. It's the words, it's the belief in it, right? Now, some will do a bit of a ritual or what have you, but it's by believing in it and understanding that words are energy. So are emotions, and so are our thoughts. So those I believe are three of the most powerful forms of energy that we have. And so beating ourselves up over the past, right? And replaying that scene over and over again. Well, the interesting thing about that is, say we've done something, we just can't let it go, we can't forgive ourselves. Your mind doesn't know any different, nor does the body, that when we relive something that happened in the past, all those stress chemicals are released again. Everything, it's like you were right there in that moment again. So you see where I'm going with this, right? And it's a process, and you just start with little bits and little bits. Sometimes journaling helps. Sometimes working with a counselor. There's many different options to explore, but I think it's just taking that first step to start working on ourselves. Hi from New Zealand, and Linda says, "Hey there, yeah, it's an open topic tonight, so we're working on. I'm just sharing a bit of a channeling." And some of the stuff. And then we're open to talk about whatever you guys want to, I should say, ladies and gentlemen, whatever you want to talk about. But I just thought this was really important because I find, and I love talking to other people, I find that a lot of us are going through this and really feeling stuck or in a place of fear, which is low vibration, right? That's where I was going with this was, raise your vibration. All that means is by bringing in higher positive energy, if you will. So, bringing in a bit of nature if you can't get outside, opening your windows, watching that funny movie that always makes you laugh, doing something that brings you joy. These types of things raise your vibration too. So then it helps, like, and most of us, like, you may never ever want to connect with your guides, and that's okay too, but you are here for a reason. An interesting perspective, and I'm going to get your other comment here, Linda, is that the host of that podcast I was mentioning, Next Level Soul Podcast, he always asks a lot of the same questions. And at first I was feeling a bit frustrated, and then I understood why. I believe he was kind of testing, like, to see what's the answer going to be from a different person. And what I found really interesting is if I believe we really are all a part of one another. Okay. And part of the reason for coming to Earth School, if you will, one of the most difficult places, if you just joined us, people are like, I shouldn't say people, souls are lined up to come here. So you should be patting yourself on the back, like other races and what have you, whatever your belief systems are looking at us coming here, because this is one of the most difficult places to come, but a powerful place to learn, grow, and evolve as eternal beings, as eternal souls, right? So, where was I going with this? Sorry, I was talking about the lineup here. Sorry, I'm talking away here and I keep seeing comments and they get distracted. It'll come back to me as I'm talking. But my whole point is we're here for a reason. That's what it was. And what was sort of brought up a few times with these different channels and near-death experiences, and I believe me, I've watched about 100 different videos over the last couple of weeks, is one of the reasons we come here, right? We live in this high vibe space as a soul, whether you want to call it being back home in heaven, across the veil, whatever you want to call it, right? But all we know is love. There's no strife. There's happiness. There's joy. We know who we really are as a soul, right? But how are you going to know what that really feels like and to appreciate it unless you experience the opposite? So we come here and we have for many, 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 many ages to experience what separateness feels like. To come here with no previous memory of who we are, of past lives, of experiences from the past. Some of us remember, and some of us are able to connect with that. But that's what we feel like. We get to experience emotions. We get to experience negative emotions. So you see where I'm going with this, and we really learn to understand what really love is, what joy is, what happiness is, what, you know, being a part of each other is. But one of the interesting things that kept coming up too for the future, and if you followed anything within spirituality, you keep hearing, oh, we're moving into 5D, blah, blah, blah. I won't give you that. I believe that we're able to move into different dimensions, different timelines effortlessly, and we do it without even realizing, because that's one of our powers, or superpowers, if you will, as an eternal soul. So what they've been saying is with the shift that we're having, and I've been noticing this, I don't know if you guys have, but truth has been rising to the surface in every aspect, every facet of life on this planet. And it seems like we've made an agreement as a collective that we now want that separateness to be over. We want to start uniting and pulling together. But before we can kind of start anew and have a lot more cohesive, love-filled, positive, easier time while we're here, so that we don't always have to have a difficult, painful journey while we're here, we've got to move all the old stuff out of the way. It's got to come to the surface. It's got to rise up, and it's got to, once it's, everybody knows it, right? Eventually, whatever you're going to do with it, you know about it, and it makes room for something positive. I'm going to read a few of these comments and I'll finish this, and then we'll get into all the stuff you guys want to talk about. But I hope that you're okay with this, and I hope that maybe there's something that will resonate for you here. So Linda says, her faith-inspired transformation. I'll put it up on the screen. Sorry. So she says, raise your vibration. Oh my God, I can't believe how many people don't understand that yet. But if it's a normal part of our life, then it's hard to believe that other people don't know what it is. Well, it is hard to believe, but if we really think about this, okay, where did you learn about that? Did you hear about that in school? Did you learn about this stuff? No, right? And there's many, 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 many people on this planet who would think I'm just speaking gobbledygook right now. Like, this is just crazy stuff. Like, she's all woo-woo and she's just nutty, right? And everybody's entitled to their belief systems. So I can appreciate maybe why people don't know, but I do believe there's a lot of people waking up. I also believe that every one of us that's here right now heard the call to earth. We keep hearing it's an exciting time. Doesn't feel very exciting, and I will agree with that. But I do believe from what I've shared that did resonate with myself. Maybe you'd hear it and something else would resonate with you. But we are moving towards a good thing. It is an exciting time to be here. I'm not going to give you timelines. I never do that, because there is no time on the other side, or that's a man-made concept. And I think it depends on humanity, how quickly we move towards this, if you will. But I do believe it's coming. So we've got hug it. Thanks, Linda. I meant to mention that in my rambling here. Hug a tree, walk outside in your bare feet, even walk in the snow in your bare feet. Well, you're brave. I don't think I'd do that. Mind you, today I might have. It's beautiful. I've been joking on Facebook, if you follow me, that my youngest son, and I mentioned him many times, he's got severe autism, and he hates when the snow leaves, because he knows then summer's coming and there's thunderstorms, and he doesn't like thunderstorms. So I told him, every year we get a massive snowstorm, before spring finally is truly here. So that happened 2 weeks ago. We got, for those of you that do the metric system, 40 plus centimeters, the imperial system, just over 2 feet of snow. And it was crazy. It went on for 2 days, and I was calling it Spring Snowmageddon 2023, right? Then the next day before, I'm in a t-shirt, and then we had these Arctic bitter winds, this crazy snow. Within 2 days after that, back in a t-shirt, and it's melted. Well, wouldn't you know, happened again, part two, I guess. And today I'm out in a t-shirt. We're starting to see the grass, and like we got almost a foot of snow. So we got crazy weather out there. So Facebook user, I am the founder of, I am founder of Paracrypture, to be here and see you in the flesh. Well, nice to meet you too. Let me know what your name is, please, because I will repeat this. If you're on Facebook and you're watching this, if you wouldn't mind, please head over to streamyard.com/Facebook. All you have to do is say yes or approve that they can use your picture and your name. And then I'll be able to know who you are, because you all just come up as Facebook users. And he said, you loved your snow updates last week. Has it settled yet? I didn't see your comment. I don't know if that was psychic or what it was, but yes, it has settled. So Linda said she raises her vibration while riding her unicorn. Those who have not had that awakening experience will judge in this way. That's okay, because they are on their way. They are. And yes, I adore unicorns too, Linda. So I hear you. And we got another Facebook user. Hi, Lorilei. Hi. I wish I knew. Like I said, guys, I don't know who you are on Facebook. Okay, let's finish off the rest of this. So where was I? There's not much left. Number 5. When all else fails, and you're not sure what choice to make, as we have the ability to choose always, and we do, and I have been guilty of saying, well, I didn't have a choice. We always have a choice. It just might not be the choice that we want to make out of the two that we're given. Always choose love. And love is hard. It's difficult. Sometimes it is. When someone's making you really angry, or they got a lot going on in there, maybe they take advantage of you or whatever it may be. Love is a hard thing to do, including forgiveness. Excuse me. Hi, Robin. Robin's over from the UK. But if you think about it, okay, even if we're going to forgive someone that's been really awful to us, we don't have to forgive what they did to us. Okay, you never have to forgive that. But even by looking at them, because we're not in our true self of who we really are, say when we're back home, and again, I'll just say back home. You say heaven, in the universe, wherever you want to think you go as a soul once you leave this planet. We really are a part of each other. And believe it or not, this is a hard one for me. Some of the people that are the most awful to us have made that agreement that they're going to play the villain, if you will, when we come into this lifetime in particular while we're here. And they're going to do the things that they're going to do because it may actually be helping us for the reason why we're here. And I'll elaborate a little bit. So say this soul decides that it's going to incarnate into this lifetime, in particular scenario, whatever it may be. Insert yourself here, maybe. And you want to learn patience. Well, probably, more than likely, you are not going to be plopped in the middle of a Buddhist monk monastery somewhere in Tibet. It could happen if you really wanted to have that experience at that time. More than likely, you're going to be building in some experiences with people before you incarnate here, with people who really push your buttons all the time. Maybe you're going to come here with a short fuse or a temper, right? And the universe will keep presenting these opportunities over and over and over and over and over again until we master it. So how I was mentioning a little while ago about boundaries, the reason why I know boundaries are something I'm going to be working on, and I still am, is because it keeps presenting itself over and over and over and over. So I think it's just a matter of, when things happen in life, is stepping back and trying to look at the bigger picture. Why does this happen? Why is this happening? And again, we may not have the answer, but believe me, if it feels right or it just seems too perfect, it probably is perfect. We just got to start trusting ourselves and trusting what we receive. So Linda says, meaning if I am harmed by someone, I will forgive them so I can let go. It's your closure. Yes, it's actually a gift to yourself. It's a gift to them, but it's a gift to yourself too, right? You ever heard the saying about, people that hang on to revenge or whatever that is, and the other person is aware of this, and they'll say, "I just love that that I live in their head rent free," because somebody that's hell bent on revenge, that person does live in your brain space, if you will, rent free, right? The other person's living their life, has forgotten about them, whatever, right? And most people I have found, I don't know every person in the world, at least not in this lifetime, but most people don't feel better when they get revenge. And some of them are pretty complicated revenge type scenarios. I haven't met too many people that have achieved revenge that it's going to feel like what they expected it to feel like. It usually feels kind of crappy and kind of empty. It was actually more energy and probably a lot more of anticipating what it was going to feel like in the planning process and carrying it out. And then afterwards, it just feels really empty and it doesn't accomplish what you want. So I didn't mean to get so serious on you guys, but I wanted to start that out tonight because, again, like I said, I'm hearing this from a lot of people. Just remember that fear, okay? When we go into a space of fear, low vibrational, and we all go there. We have it for a reason. It's there to protect everything that we have in our lifetime, including I've met people that are in the light worker field. Again, no judgment, not my job to judge, but will tell you, you've got to diminish the ego. You've got to banish the ego. You've got to get rid of it. Well, that's part of who you are. As much as you want to banish it and get rid of it, you're stuck with it. So either you learn to live with it and acknowledge it and recognize it for what it is here, right? Sometimes it's here to keep us safe. There's many roles that an ego can play, and there's certain places in time that it is necessary. So where I really learned this was from my Akashic Records practitioner mentor that I worked with, and I really loved what she had said, that we invite the ego, say when we're going into the Akashic Records and we're learning on ourselves first and the people in our class, and we invite the ego to be a curious bystander, but participant, sort of picturing it on the outside, if you will. So it's still there. It feels acknowledged, but you're basically letting the ego know, I know you're there, sending you love, appreciating that you're there, but I just sort of need you to sit on the sidelines and just sort of observe. And so it feels acknowledged, if you will. It really is work. I've got a comment here. I'm not sure who it is, but you said, I feel angry and I feel robbed that I lost my Julie 2 months ago. I'm only 45 and have to be on my own and lonely. Does that mean I'm being punished for a past life? Oh, sweetheart, no. And I'm so sorry. Oh gosh, I have tears for you. And I do, because I know you, Robin, and my heart goes out to you. First of all, I am so sorry for your loss, but you're not being punished. And again, it's what you believe, but I'm going to share with you that we have many lifetimes with those we love. That doesn't make it any better in this lifetime at all, but you are not being punished. When we are born, we know the moment that we incarnate, we know the moment when we're going to leave this earth. And for Julie, that was her time to go. And I can't even imagine what you're going through. And I don't want to get too deep into this, but if you like, Robin, if you're okay with it, I'd love for you to get a hold of me this week and let's talk. And I'm hoping, rather than in an open forum like this, because it is very personal, but I would love to talk to you and maybe be able to give you a little bit of perspective on this, because we're not being punished by this in any way, shape, or form. And although when we're grieving, it's a very lower vibrational emotion, and it's a normal human process. So we can't always feel that loved one that's around us, but she's around you. She's around you. She loves you. She hears you. When you cry and you miss her and you think about her, she's holding you. It's just so hard to feel it, because like attracts like energy on this planet. And again, grief is a normal process. There's no timetable. Don't ever let anybody tell you there's a timetable. And it never really truly goes away. I truly believe that with time, a different kind of normal, if you will, starts to grow around it. But I would love for you to contact. Thanks, Robin. I really appreciate that. And I was going to pull a card, but I'm hearing, you know what, let's do this privately. But I want everybody to know that we're not being punished when we're here. And again, that comes back to what we've been taught and what's been told to us ever since we've been little, many of us, right? We're here for a reason. We do go on forever. We really, really do. And even being in the paranormal field, right? Part of that is investigating, is there an afterlife? How are we contacting these people? Who are these entities sometimes we encounter? And I definitely have done that. I can tell you that with our previous home. It's kind of why I'm on the journey I'm on right now. Would I have done it without what I'd gone through? No. And actually, my co-host David asked me that Thursday night on the thing at the foot of the bed. And he said, Laura, I was just thinking about this. Do you think that what you and your family went through in your previous home, and I always say I wouldn't wish it on a blade of grass, not that I'm any better than a blade of grass, but I wouldn't wish it on anybody what we went through. But do I look at it in anger? No, not at all. Because it's taken me to the space I am in today. And I don't think I would be here today if we hadn't experienced it. I'm going to go a little bit back here, and Robin, I send you so much love and hugs and healing, and I look forward to that we'll be able to have a conversation. I do want to let you know we've got Janny Banani that says Heifer and Paranormal. No, that's what she's telling you. No. So I know we all send you so much love and healing and hugs and prayers, but I promise you, Robin, I promise you, your Julie is with you, and she's healthy and she's whole, and she's with your loved ones over on the other side. And that's one thing that's always guaranteed. Eventually, one day we will leave this planet too. She will be there. I used to work in Pali. I always say I've been so blessed to be there. And if you followed the show for a while, I've said this, to be there hundreds of times at the beginning of life with the NICU, working there. And then so deeply, deeply honored. And one of these days I will heal my back. And one of the things I would love to do is to work in palliative care still, which is what I did as a full-time nurse in the community. And I would be there when it would be a patient of mine, but they would choose to pass at their own home. And you kind of become part of the family. And the beautiful, amazing, incredible things that we as nurses see at the bedside, and the peace that takes over. And this is what I even try to share with many people. So if you know someone who's had a loss, whether it's you've known it was coming or it's very quick, in the beginning when it happens, there's family, there's friends, there's all kinds of people around. But it's when a few months start to pass that people's lives start to go on. And I find that is one of the most difficult times to try to navigate, because you do feel like you're alone, and you're not. So again, Robin, sending you much love, or anybody that's hearing this either live or on the replay, send you love. I send you healing. I send you hugs. And believe me, your loved one is around. Ask them to send you a sign, and pay attention to the signs. And that's not just when you're trying to connect with a loved one. Could be connecting with spirit, connecting with your guides. Ask them to send you a sign. Sometimes you can send them something pretty crazy. They'll send it to you, I promise. I'm going to read some of your comments here. So Christina said, learn your shadow self. Control of one's ego is learned. Sometimes the ego takes its own trip. It's been a tough 3 years for many. It has. But where I was going with that, Christina, yes, that's something else when you're going on that healing journey, is looking into the shadow. A lot of people may not heard what the shadow is. The shadow, the way I look at it is, and we all do it, I've done it myself, let's pick Adolf Hitler, for example. Many of us would look at that and say, how did that ever happen? I would never in a million years ever do that. Or somebody maybe that's taken somebody's life. Okay. And we say, my God, how could they do something like that? Well, if you think about it, we have the potential to be all. We do. Sometimes people do things in a fit of anger, sometimes mental illness, sometimes they're just wired that way, whatever it may be. But we all have that potential, right? But a lot of these things, and we usually learn this when we're really little. And I'll use the example of maybe as a little one, I was super shy, but some kids are love to put on plays and act and everybody look at me, right? Maybe you've got company, parents have got company over and the child pops out and says, hey, look at me. And somebody says, children are meant to be seen and not heard. A child very quickly learns that, oh, that's a bad thing. Not to be front and center, not to step out there. So we tuck that into our backpack, if you will, our shadow. So it's kind of going back to when we were younger and unraveling some of these things. A lot of the beliefs that we take on, we're like a sponge till about 7 years of age that we've even packed in there that we don't even know that we have. So working on that, healing it, acknowledging it, right? It's kind of some of that stuff to unpack. There's a whole thing, we could do a whole show on shadow self. Hi, Debbie. Zachman said, it's a phase I'm still going through since my mom passed earlier this month. Yeah, I was thinking about you earlier, Zach, and I'm so sorry about your mom, too. The big thing that keeps me grounded is that I have family as my support network, and you do. You do. And there's people that love you, and there's people that care about you, and I mean that to everybody out there. One of my favorite movies, and I'm not a big fan of old music or old movies or anything, is the movie It's a Wonderful Life. Other one is Love Actually. I love that movie too. But the reason why It's a Wonderful Life, because we really don't know how many people, each and every one of you, have impacted other people's lives that you haven't even known that you have, right? So remember that you are never, ever alone with spirit or that are here, your support team. You got a whole support team, if you want to call it the A team, not just angels, ascended masters. You would be surprised who's in your relatives. Because I was always told that guides can never, or relatives can never be spirit guides. And I'm always changing and evolving my belief systems as I meet other people, hear other people's perspectives. And I truly do believe that our loved ones, once they pass over, can become one of our guides. Not necessarily the big designation of spirit guide, but who knows you better than your loved ones, right? And they get to see it from the whole picture and from the whole perspective. So they're there. They're always there. Every time you think of them, every time you have a family event, they're there. I promise you. I'm going to just go through our comments here. Hang on. Facebook user, hi Laura, love you too. Not sure who it is, but love you. So Facebook users, I'm going to remind you again, if you're on here, just head over to streamyard.com. It'll take 1 second /Facebook, and all you got to do is say yes. And they just want to permission to use your picture and your name, and then I'll know who you are, because otherwise you guys are all, see, I'll show you. It just goes, Facebook user. That's all I see. So Linda says, your shadow self, yes. Self, yes. Doing shadow work is as hard as the dark night of the soul. But when you come out of the other, and it's like jumping in a nice cool bath. Yes. This is another thing Spirit's given me. It's given me a few sayings. I'll share both of them. From having a son with autism, and sometimes when he was young, it's not like that anymore, but when he was young, sometimes he'd be raging for 3 or 4 hours, and all you could do was hold him, just so he didn't hurt himself or hurt anything or anybody. And I remember this so clearly, and it was this, that if it doesn't make any difference 10 minutes from now, let alone 10 years from now, let it go and pick your battles. And the other one that I've really had coming up a lot, and it reminds me myself when I've received this, and it's this, that what we perceive becomes what we believe, and it becomes our reality. And what I mean by that, if you believe it's going to be difficult, if you believe it's going to be awful, I'm not talking just about shadow work, I'm talking about anything, the universe will comply if you believe it's going to be difficult. And remember, we're here to experience. We are manifestors. Everything on this planet besides nature has been thought of, has been dreamt up, has been created, and has been made by some human being. Or there could be a little bit of ET thrown in there too, but for the sake of what we're talking about, I'll say human beings. So remember that. Sometimes just changing our perspective, even if you don't believe it, like I said, just repeating it over and over. I'm working on the I am enough, I am worthy. So a lot of things I talk about, I'm going through myself. So I really do believe if I'm going to talk about these things, I kind of gotta walk the walk of the talk that I do. So, and I believe they work. I really, really do. And I'm hoping this resonates with you guys. Hang on. So Debbie says, hi, Zacharoni, sending love and hugs, brother. Yes, to everybody out there who's had a loss or is having a hard time right now. I send it to all of you. And Michelle said, losing my parents, what gets me through is they were okay when they lost their. And then you said here listening. I'm not quite sure what you meant by that, Michelle. I don't know if it all went through. Michelle's over in Australia, so thank you for joining us. It's never, ever easy. And I want to send a big hug out to a friend of the show. She's been on here. I'm trying to get her back on eventually, Vanessa. And she just lost her beloved puppy that has been around. I think she was almost 20, which was a good long life. But it doesn't make any loss is not an easy thing to go through. Um, and Linda said, Zach, your mom was loved. She was. And so was Robin's wife. And so are all the other people out there experiencing a loss. And, right, you got to do what you got to do. And if you don't know what to do, or some days are really difficult, and even people around me, close to me, that have gone through severe depression, whatever that may be, and I'm not saying you're depressed. What I'm saying is when we're going through something difficult, what I used to share is sometimes you just got to go day by day. Sometimes the day's just too long. Sometimes it's just hour by hour. Sometimes it's just minute by minute. And you just keep going through, keep going through, keep putting one foot in front of the other, right? Because that's pretty well all you can do. And if you really are having a difficult time, reach out for help, reach out to talk to someone, even if you feel like maybe not directed at anybody here, but anybody listening, if maybe you don't feel like being here anymore, reaching out. I don't have any numbers handy here, but most countries have a number you can call and reach out for assistance, just even if it's someone to talk to. Debbie says, sorry, I'm going to show it, Debbie. I had a friend that I hadn't heard from in 30 years contact me a couple of weeks ago. He thanked me for saving his life and told me he named his daughter after me because none of his kids would be here. Oh, Debbie, what a beautiful gift. Or come over to YouTube, Michelle says. Yes, if I can't see you on Facebook, come over to YouTube. So none of his kids would be here if you hadn't saved his life. Aw, what a beautiful tribute. What a gorgeous story to share, Debbie. Thank you. And you said I was blown away. Oh, Rose, it's you. I have not. We got lots of Australians here tonight. Welcome. That's what she said. Laura, it's me. She was one of the hidden Facebook people. And Linda says, wow, Debbie, that is special. She said, Michelle, I'm going to go back. You said that what gets you through is the fact that you know that they were okay when they lost their parents. Okay, but remember, we're all individuals, and I'm glad that you shared that helps. I really am. Debbie said, totally forgotten about that. It was such an honor. I'll bet it was. Crawl before we walk in grief, and you understand the stages of grief. Yeah. Well, there are stages of grief. There's Kubler-Ross's 5 stages. It's called death and dying. And I always say it should be the 5 stages of loss. And I mean loss pertaining to anything within our human lives. But the one thing is there's 5 stages and people think that they all follow a progression, and they don't. You could go from stage 1 to stage 5 to back to stage 3. And then the other thing is too, sometimes, and you'll hear a lot of people say this, that I thought it was okay. And it was just the littlest thing and it triggered me and it kind of spiraled, and that's okay. That's what we're talking about this. So give yourself that grace, give yourself that forgiveness, right? Learning to love yourself. And And I promise you, as sure on top of my kids' heads, that no one is being punished for what they've experienced in life. And that's why I think maybe we talked about this. I just love spirit. I always connect with spirit before we do a show. I always do. And I say, where are we going with this? And we're here for a reason. None of us are here by accident. That I promise you, I believe that to the depth of my soul. And, when you think about eternal beings, it's, it's a long time if we've lived here, say, for 80 or 100 years. But when you think in the scope of forever, right, eternity, that's like a blink of an eye. And I'm sure it might feel that way back home or in heaven, whatever you want to call it, right? But it certainly doesn't feel that way here, does it? And then Rose says, hey, Debbie, loves ya. And Jani Benani says, that's so beautiful, Debbie. And thank you for putting that down, Jani Benani. Says remorse, denial, anger, depression, acceptance. Well, I know them a little bit different. Not so much remorse, but bargaining. So I think it just depends, right? But we're not trying to get, hey, Rain, but I didn't want to stay on this sort of heavier topic unless you guys would like to. We sometimes chat about the paranormal. Are you guys ready to jump into a different topic? It's a little lighter. We did start late. I hope by sharing what I believe I channeled through some automatic writing. And if you just were joining the show, there's always a replay of the show or an archive wherever podcasts or talk shows are carried, as well as there'll be one on YouTube. On my YouTube channel, I use it as a backup. Sometimes it's easiest to find the shows for my shows on there. On Facebook, the show's being pinned, and it will stay till Thursday when I book the thing at the foot of the bed. So you guys always love to talk about the paranormal. So anybody got some crazy paranormal stuff going on? Because I can tell you. Now, you guys have heard me talk about this show, and there's a reason why I love it. And yes, we watch YouTube at our house and many other things, but I don't pay for cable anymore. Rose says, I am glad I was late. You didn't miss it. I'm not late. Actually, I was early today because sometimes we don't start till 10 after 6 o'clock my time. But I started right at 6. I thought, I'm sitting here staring at myself in the screen. Why don't I just go live? So I did. So I love the show Nuke's Top 5. And the reason why I love it, I believe this guy's North American. He lives over in Norway. Give me a second and grab a drink. Excuse me as I miss my mouth. He, sometimes I've seen him debunk stuff. Like there's one time he debunked a video from the Chris Watts house. If you guys haven't seen that gentleman very tragically and sadly took the life of his pregnant wife, who was pregnant with their third child, their son, and his 2 little girls. Check out the video footage from the police cams looking around before they even knew that what had happened. It is insane, that video. Anyways, there was a video clip. Chris hadn't tested yet. The neighbors were over and they had their children over. The children had played with his little girls when they were alive. So they were in one of the little girls' bedrooms and they were playing and getting to what the name of the show is. And people were thinking something paranormal had happened in that bedroom. So he took the time to debunk it. Now, who I'm talking about, Nuke's Top 5. And I believe he's from North America. And what he posts are videos that people either send into him, they tag him on TikTok or whatever that may be. Now, my partner, Dell, is kind of a skeptic. Even after everything we've been through, even he admitted, and he watched Nuke's Top 5 this week. From when I did, he went, holy crap, I think that's one of the scariest Nuke's Top 5 I have ever watched. And it was, holy crap, some of the stuff that happened. I'll try not to give too much away here, but the number 5 video, there's a guy in Mexico who owns an auto body shop, and he's got security cameras, and they had picked up a vehicle that had been involved in a really horrific crash the night before. And he's watching his mechanic on the camera This is what we're watching on video. And the mechanic is like interacting with something there and talking to Mr. Carlos. And Mr. Carlos wants to know how much the damage it'll be to fix his wreck from last night. And they're talking, it had to be for quite a few minutes. And finally, the owner says, and these are all subtitled because it's in Spanish, and he says, "Who are you talking to?" And the mechanic goes, I'm talking to Mr. Carlos. Who? Mr. Carlos, the gentleman, his car was involved in that really bad car wreck. He wants to know how much the estimate's going to be to get it fixed. He goes, "You're not talking to anybody." He goes, "Yes, I am." He's like right in front of me. And this guy's adamant. There was nobody on the camera. And we ended up finding out that very tragically, everybody that had been in that accident the night before had lost their lives. And this man swore like full flesh and blood in front of him, like not like just an apparition kind of seeing through. He was having a full blown conversation. And then we did indeed find out that one of the victims of this accident was named Mr. Carlos. And it just goes downhill from there. I'm going to read some of your comments here. Hang on. Okay. Rain says, all the time, weird stuff happens. It sure does, doesn't it, Rain? Rain's a friend of our show, too. She's been on this show. I believe I've been on here twice, and she sent me some great guests, too, because she's working within the publishing world as well. So Linda said, let's talk about people waking at a faster rate than before. Yes, agreed. Not so much global strife, but have you noticed people ascending in groups rather than individually? I guess depending on what you mean by ascending, are people, I think everybody, again, and I hate to use the cliche journey, but it is, right? We all go at our own pace, because that's the other thing where I was going to go with the forgiveness and say people that treat you badly. It's kind of like you have to do a relationship evaluation to people around you, because people are going to start saying, when you start going along this journey yourself, you've changed. I don't know you anymore. We've got nothing in common, right? Those kind of things happen. And sometimes if you choose to, and it's up to you and no judgment, but sometimes you end up going off in a different direction away from the people that might have been your group before. Just because you start growing apart, you start growing in different directions. Maybe you start working on that inner healing, right? And you start recognizing that you're not liking the way you're being treated. And the only thing we can change, and many of us have the best intentions that we would love to help somebody change, right? You can see it's so easy from the outside looking in than somebody with the mirror held up to our own faces, including ourselves, okay? So a lot of people with very well-intentioned meaning and love in their hearts think they can change people by either loving them enough or, just whatever it may be within their own minds. I can honestly tell you this too. The only person you will ever be able to change is yourself. So when you're faced with that decision, and say you've got someone that doesn't treat you very well, regardless of whether they're family, could be friends, could be anybody. And again, I mentioned that at the beginning of the show, we always have a choice. Sometimes we have, and I think I had answered it with choose love. Sometimes we have to look at inner self-love, sending them love as well, but making the choice that either minimizing contact or sometimes cutting off contact because you matter too, right? Like I said, we could do a whole show on each one of these topics probably. So, yes, there are people awakening. I guess it's how you look at it. I don't know if I've looked at people and thought, wow, well, maybe I have. I'm thinking about people close to me. I haven't looked at them as, oh my goodness, you're ascending, but I'm noticing that they're kind of heading along the path and makes me happy actually that they are. So I don't know if I've looked at it so deeply as that, but it's interesting to know. Debbie said, I've never have crazy paranormal stuff, just peaceful spirit stuff here. Well, you are lucky. But you know what? I want to touch on that for a minute, Debbie, because I was having this conversation with somebody too, and they had said the same thing. They've never had paranormal experiences, and they were mentioning, well, I don't really like spooky, scary stuff. I said, well, I don't know if I really like it either. I don't like horror movies or anything. But I actually said this to them. I said, maybe you have built that into your life experience here. Not that our whole life is planned, because it's not, but maybe you've built that experience in for the fact that you didn't need to have that kind of experience in this lifetime. Could be. I've met many people that have said they haven't had paranormal experiences. I should tell you guys if I'm squirming too. I have a bad back. No, I'm not in agony or anything, but I move and I don't think about it. So if you see me, that's why. So I had said that to this individual. Maybe you just weren't meant to have one in the way that you didn't need one. Where the lifetime you're having here you didn't need to have one. Could be, right? Could be about your perspective, could be about beliefs. It could be a lot of reasons why, but I'm glad that you only have peaceful, spiritual stuff. And sometimes that's nice too, because that in itself can be very inspiring. You can see a lot of miraculous stuff. It's kind of cool. So Linda said, I've had visitations here in the form of my shaman. The German Shepherd sees them, but the Husky does not. Orbs here all day again. Yes, I saw your beautiful babies this weekend. I saw a video. And yes, I will tell you that well, if you're a German Shepherd owner, and I've been a dog owner my whole life, there is something different about having a German Shepherd. It's like they pick their person and that's their person. And it's like you're almost inseparable, but almost like a team, if you will. There's a reason why I think they pick, not always, but they have been traditionally police dogs, because I think they build that kind of relationship with their handler too, like as part of the canine team. And I've noticed a difference. Like, don't get me wrong, all animals that we make as part of our family are loving and loyal and what have you, and especially dogs, unconditional love. But there's just something a little different about a German Shepherd. My dog kept running around sniffing, and she's not a hyper dog. And she was tracking something. I knew this dog was tracking something. She would just be like all over, all over, all over. And then she'd go, we have a sliding glass door on the main floor and a chair there. And she kept going in between the curtain where the sliding glass door was covered and the chair. And she'd be right in there and she'd pull it and she'd look at me, Mom, it's there. And then it was like she'd be like this, she'd see it, and then she'd start running, and she had her nose right to the ground. And she wasn't doing it all the time. It'd just be really infrequently, like be fine for a couple days, and there was no rhyme or reason. So the last time she did it, this is a couple months ago, I went, that's it. I'm taking pictures. Like, what the heck are you seeing, dog? I did get some things on picture. I did. Sorry, I'm looking over here and I realized my eyeballs are over here. I'm thinking, what is it? I had a few people look at it. Well, we have had a little bit of paranormal activity here. It's not been like how it was in my previous home. These things can sit dormant though, and we never really had dealt with what we had in our previous home. I had someone contact me that said they would deal with the demonic entity, that what its name was and what have you. I believe they did something. Now, do I know if they dealt with it or not? I don't know. But needless to say, apparently we had some shadow beings here that had sort of followed over from our previous home. Were they dealt with? Yes, thankfully. So that was interesting because I did catch something on the camera. Did it look like Shadow Man? No. But it definitely had these weird eyes and it was in the shadows, hidden. I even moved the curtain thinking, okay, I'll move the curtain back just in case. And there was still something there. So it was there. So Linda says, I haven't watched Nukes in so long because one of his videos actually scared you. I never get scared by the paranormal. Well, okay, I'm going to be honest. What I did was if I know it's going to be really creepy and spooky, I'm a big chicken. I don't like scary movies either. I'll usually be like this and like one eyeball open. So what I do is I'll kind of just sort of look, but not really, kind of out of the corner of my eye, because I know he's going to do a replay. Because I hate jump scares. That's what I really, really hate. So wait, and he can play the video because I know he's going to replay it 2 or 3 times. And by that time, the jump scare, if there's going to be one or whatever, is over. So that's how I do it. Um, so Jenny Beneni, do you have a link? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Jenny. What you're talking about a link for? You're talking about the video channel I was talking about. I talked about a few. The Next Soul podcast, or I'm talking about Nuke's Top 5. You let me know what the link is, and I'll be happy to let you know how to find it. And then Jenny Beneni says, I would say yes to ascending in groups. See, either self-isolate, then form into collectives. Interesting. I like that perspective too. Like I said, I think we're all noticing different things. But if you look at it, this theory here, if we're not here by accident, we're all meant to be here. We all heard the call to earth, if you will, with what's going on. As my cat is probably going to make an appearance. She's thinking about it. So if you see a furry animal here. Anyways, we all heard the call to earth. And I don't always watch, I kind of pay attention to the signs around me and stuff, or things that just show up in my field. And it was on TikTok. It's really interesting younger, I don't want to call him a kid, but he's about my kid's age. And he was talking about various levels of ETs and all kinds of stuff, and about transforming and astral travel, and was really, really interesting. And he was talking about that a lot of star seeds have chosen to incarnate during this time. Now, if you believe in ET and you believe in other races, that they're here because of, with it being a more advanced type of race, say their previous lifetimes and stuff, they were here to lend a hand, more skilled, if you will, to help handle what's going on. So could we have collectives? Absolutely. I always say, just because I haven't seen it, just because maybe I haven't heard of it, or whatever it may be, not just this, anything, doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and it doesn't mean it can't happen. It just means maybe I haven't experienced it. And again, I'm not really that, I have two of my own groups, but I'm not really active in a lot of other groups. I'm so busy with everything else I'm doing. I just don't find I have enough hours in the daytime to do that. So yeah, it'd be cool. If you guys are seeing that, I love hearing that. Awesome. So Debbie said, I have had one negative experience years ago. Before I learned Dominion, yes, I talk about Dominion quite a bit, and protection, and how to work with my guides and angels, but you don't even worry about it anymore. And like I had said earlier to Debbie, and I know you know this, but anybody listening, right? One of the things is that like attracts like energy. So when we are talking about raising your vibration, right? So if your vibration or your energy is high, you're not a match for something lower. So it would make sense why you're not running into anything. Michelle says, my daughter has a German Shepherd Cross Malamute and named her Nova. Oh, what a beautiful name. I should ask you guys. I meant to do this. And I thought about it before. Let us know where you guys are all from here, so we know where everybody's from. Rose said, I have mostly had good experiences, even though we have 2 pathways in our house. Had one really bad one outside a prison. Oh, I'm sorry to say that. Now, hear that, Rose. It almost makes sense, though, right? Because if you think of a prison, it's not usually a happy place, especially if it has a history of many, many, many years. And a lot of people go to old abandoned prisons or what have you, and they usually have experiences at these places because it's not a happy place. And I believe that the ground can hold energy, and then there are human spirits and not human spirits that aren't necessarily positive that can also be here as well, right? Linda says, you saw the video. He tracks the TV too. Nothing gets past him. Oh, her German Shepherd, Linda saying. Joanna says, I believe they are the smartest, if anything. Well, they don't. And I remember with training and stuff, getting back to dogs with German Shepherds. And I always wonder, like, how did they pick what dog, say, out of a litter is going to be destined for police work? I now know. And what they look for, not for dogs that are food motivated, but toy motivated. And it makes sense, right? can't have a police officer in a canine unit running around with a little bag of hot dogs cut up or little treats to reinforce positive behavior with the dog or with the training, right? And the reason why I know, my girl is a big girl. She could care less about food. But you give her a toy, that dog is mental over a toy. Like, she would have been a perfect candidate for police work. She's smart, she's loyal, and she loves toys. She is so bratty. Like, she will not eat. The only way she will eat, when I have my grand dogs over here, Rogie and Scouter, she'll eat because somebody else might get it, but otherwise, no. I'll eat it, I guess. Or new food, get her some new food. She might eat it, it's fine. Next day, no, I don't think I want to eat the same thing 2 days in a row. So, yes, maybe it's me, but there I am, doctoring it all up, all dog related, healthy stuff. But that's the only way she'll eat it. Half the time she won't finish it. And like, I have seen that dog not eat for 2 days. She's not sick. She is perfectly healthy. She is a young dog. She just could care less about food. And I never had dogs like that. Like, I've always had a dog that loved food, loved to eat. I mean, I've had 5 dogs at one time. So going back to, yes, link, okay, to Nuke's top 5. Okay, Jenny Banani, the best way to find it, because I don't think I can post the link in here. If I do, it's going to post it'll post like 8 times on here. So the best way to find it is to go to YouTube, and you're going to look, I'll spell it for you. N as in Nancy, U, K as in Kevin, E as in Edward, and then I think it's an S as in Sam. I don't think there's an apostrophe. And then you put top, like TOP, and then number 5, and it will come up. Now, he was very good about posting at the same time, same day, every week. But you'll know by the end of it that he will actually say at his videos, as of the last year or so, I'm so sorry, my schedule is all over. So sign up for notifications. Now, the reason why I believe he had said this about a year or two ago, I believe he's looking after his elderly parents, which is a really beautiful thing. And for anybody that does video editing or putting videos together like he does, especially, it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of hours. So I could definitely see that. So check it out. Jenny, I don't know if you follow me on Facebook too. If you don't, let me know and I'll be happy to share the link with you. So Linda says, yes. Here, I keep forgetting to highlight the comments so you guys can see them. There are a larger number of star seeds here now than in the past 2,000 years. Agreed. How do I know? I just do. It's one of those things that is just a knowing. And if that's one of the clairs, as we call it, so claircognizance, right? We know things that we know. We just don't know why we know them, but we know them and we're absolutely certain of it. Debbie says, very true. My vibration is a lot higher than it used to be. Yes, it is. And she is from Smyrna, New Beach, Florida. Welcome. Rose says, not good when they tried to choke you. I didn't even go in. I have been choked by a spirit. And believe it or not, it was on my birthday. I'm writing 3 books. I'm getting the itch. I think that's why I actually did some automatic writing. I have not done it in so long with what I started the show with. And one of them is our paranormal experience. But yes, I've had that done. I have been burnt. I've been, I can't really call it a scratch, but I have a picture that we've released to the public and I'm wearing, it looks like a bikini top. It's a bra. You can't see anything, but I was combing my hair and I felt some burning on my chest. And there's like a handprint that looks like it's burnt into my chest. Believe me, yes, I have experienced some of these things. Not fun, but again, I want to share what Debbie said. And it's true that I believe that once we start to learn about these things, knowledge is empowering. And once we understand it, we can debunk the fear behind it, start to understand it, because fear, I believe, is food to something that is lower vibration. And again, like attracts like energy. So that was the only thing that helped us in our previous home. And for those of you that are new here, my partner was thrown 15 feet across the kitchen by something he couldn't see. It's a crazy story. But the only thing that stopped the physical stuff was understanding about energy. And it made perfect sense. So Jenny Benani says, I'm between New Zealand and Australia. Welcome. So Linda says, hang on. Star seeds have a tough life because they just don't fit into the norms, but they are tough and are here to help humanity with the healing process that we will need very soon. Yes, I say that that can be one of the character traits. If you're thinking, what is a star seed? It just means you could be many of the other extraterrestrial races that are benevolent, powerful, and you might feel like maybe you don't fit in. You never feel like you're at home. I don't think everybody feels that way, but it's been reported that many people do feel that way. Dave Petrella says, hot dogs. Yes. Well, if you've ever taken obedience training, that's what they get you to, well, at least here up in Canada where I live. I guess I should say where I live. I'm in Thunder Bay in northwestern Ontario, right on the shores of Lake Superior, the one of the biggest Great Lake. And we are smack dab pretty well in the middle of Canada. So if you're coming from the west to the east or vice versa, you must come through my city unless you want to go all the way around the Great Lakes. And it's the same thing with going through to southern Ontario. So that is where I live. I'm about 6.5 hours north of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I'm about 35-40 minutes away from the Minnesota border. So, oh, yes, you're right about that too, Linda. Linda says her pupsters love dry liver. Good luck keeping it in your pocket. Yes, my dogs do too. My dogs, I don't have dogs anymore. Dog loves, I guess I was thinking of the grand doggies. Rogie, I don't know if I'll ever have grandchildren, but I have grand doggies. Rogie, my son, got his own dog, a Boston Terrier. He's been here since the day he came home. He doesn't live at my house, but when he was little, he couldn't stay home all day. So he used to come here. So my giant German Shepherd has played with him as a little ball, and now he's fully grown. So he named him Pierogi. We are not Polish, but my son decided to name his dog Pierogi. I have no idea why. So those of you who might not know what that is, they're amazing. They taste delicious, like Ukrainian or Polish, like almost like doughy dumpling. It can have cheese and potatoes in it. It can have all different kinds of fillings. So anyways, long story short, Pierogi is now Rogi. And then his partner has an older dog, Scouter, that is the most smartest dog I've ever seen. He looks a cross between a corgi and a beagle, and I adore the ground they walk on. They're so sweet. So yeah, I got that, Linda. You said they love you. I know you were trying. You said these guys live dry liver, and then you said love dry liver. I got it. Thanks. Thanks, Linda, for posting that. You put how to spell Nuke's top 5 in here for you, Jenny Benani. And so she said, thank you. And I said, I follow you. LOL. I've seen your snow posts. Well, you might have joined late. I gave you guys an update. Like I was out in a t-shirt today, and I probably could have been in shorts. All of that snow is melted. It is so warm out. It was a little cooler today, but I'm telling you, we've had crazy weather. And then Rose says, I just can't go back near a prison. Well, yeah, but sometimes too. 2 of my videos, I don't promote my YouTube. I kind of just use it as a backup channel for shows. But I do have some teaching videos on there. And if you ever want to check them out, they're not under the live tab. They're just under, I think, videos right near the bottom. But 2 of the videos I share the most are how to do a love shield, because many people that I have met over the years, I believe I'm an empath. Most of us that use it, that are aware of our abilities and are using them, have usually found they are very empathic. And you will meet many a person that will say, being an empath, it's a curse. I have chose to embrace it, and I call it a superpower. So with Spirit's help, and the video is longer because I like to walk people through how to create this. And I call it how to create a love shield, because I believe love is one of the most powerful emotions we have. So it takes longer to watch this video than it does to do. Like it takes seconds to do. But I walk you through how to create it yourself so that when you're done, say you'd watch the video and you go, what was step 7 again? What'd she say? You'll know. And I've been able to teach my son with the autism, and he's very much, even though he's 25 and with zero disrespect. He's very much like that precocious age of a 5 to 7-year-old. I've taught him how to do it. He calls it the bubble. He tells me every night, Mom, I put the bubble up, put the bubble up. And he's talking about the house. Now, my eldest son never told me what he chose to use till many years later. And he chose to use the vision of angel wings and creating it with love. And it creates a shield, because you'll hear people say, you've got to shield yourself if you're an empath going into toxic people. And I prefer not to go from a fear-based perspective, but rather one of love. So using love. And then I always tell people this too. I'll get people with lots of questions afterwards. Can I do this? Can I do that? And what I always say is, if you've thought of it and you've meant it for your highest good or others, and you've meant it in love, there is no no. It means yes, you can. Absolutely. Don't need my permission or anybody else's. If you've meant it in the spirit of what I've just mentioned, yes, you can do it. The other one is how to ground and grid yourself. And I believe that one I've done a guided meditation in as well. Hang on, I'm just going to grab another drink. And that's because I think that that's one of the most powerful and important things we can do, especially if somebody is experiencing paranormal activity, is to be grounded. And a lot of us aren't grounded. Excuse me. And how we know that? They were feeling scattered, stressed, can even feel dizzy. There's all kinds of things that you'll feel when you're not grounded. And it does not take very long to do a grounding exercise, if you will, in the morning. Gridding is a little bit different about creating some of that energy and creating it within your space of where you are to hold and maintain that grounding. But I started this episode of this show with talking about some of the things that I believe Spirit's been sharing with me, being in balance, that being on this planet, just as it's duality of everything, hot and cold, love and hate, night and dark, I believe we have chakras, or some people call them chakras, and they're invisible energies, if you will, a system running straight through the core of our body. We have many more chakras as well, and they're still discovering more today. And I'd actually heard an explanation of them that I just love recently. And the way they were explaining it, it was a lady that had channeled the archangels. There are spiritual batteries, if you will, and they're the ones that are meant to run the energy. Going back to everything is energy. So just as much as we're meant to be grounded, we're meant to be connected to source, or whatever you want to call your belief system, God, the universe. Maybe you don't have a belief in a higher power. We are meant to run energy, if you will. We're almost like we're batteries, right? So that's where I was going with that we're meant to be in balance. I'm going back. I remember when that happened, that was some crazy activity there. Debbie's talking about my previous home. Debbie has experienced it. No, we've never met in person, but I always think of Debbie whenever I talk about animals, and she's given me permission to talk about this, because one time years ago we were speaking on Skype, and she was in her bedroom and we were on video, and I said to her, did you used to have a cat that laid on that pillow right over there? And she said, oh yeah, that was my boo. That was a name. And I know she's a she. I have not forgotten. It's a she. And I told her this. I go, you're not going to believe this, but like, your cat is there. I could see your cat. Like, it's flicking its tail and it's looking at you. And so she goes, take a picture, take a picture. So Debbie still has a picture. And I believe, Debbie, you said that you believe your second cat also was caught in the picture that I took too. And Linda says, I'm in the heart of Nova Scotia in Canada. And then Jenny Benani, when's the best time to travel to Canada? Well, it depends where you want to go. Canada is massive. If you're going to British Columbia, even in the winter time, depending on where you go there, they don't really get snow. They get a lot of rain. It depends what you want to do and where you want to go. Like where you're coming from in Australia, between Australia and New Zealand, oh my gosh, Jenny, you will not. I haven't even been to all of Canada. I haven't. It is so massive. And it depends what you're looking for, because every province is different. The weather's different. The terrain is different. The culture is different. I've never been out east where Linda is either. Faith Inspired Transformation. I've never been out that far. You can go to Quebec. Quebec, I've been many times. That's like going to a different country, depending on where you go. Please go lay down. My dog's decided she wants to have a war with the kitty. Not really, she just wants to play, but she can get pretty noisy. So it just depends what you're looking for. If you want to come for winter weather, some places have milder weather than others, and there's lots of fun things to do in the winter. Maybe you want to come in the summer. So, for example, where I live, it didn't get this way this year, and I'm very grateful. In about from probably New Year's, summer, Christmas to New Year's till the end of January, it can get as low as minus 55. Doesn't matter if that's Celsius or Fahrenheit with the wind chill. The summertime, we can get up to 40, 45 degrees Celsius, which is like 110, 112 with the humidex. So we get the whole gamut. It's absolutely beautiful where I live. There's lots of trees and nature, and we have a lot of lore and legend. We have a lot of First Nations culture. We have in the south part of the outside of the city, we have something called Kekabeka Falls, which is called the Little Niagara Falls of the North. And then it's very much related, which is about 5 to 10 minutes away from my house. You can see it beautifully from the marina. It's called the Sleeping Giant, or it's a native legend of Gitchagumi. Or I'm trying to remember what the other name is. They call him Gitchagumi, or it'll come to me. But legend goes that we have one of the world's largest silver mines underneath in the water, and that the giant guards this mine, and it has never been accessed. Every time it's been tried to be accessed, somebody has lost their life. So take it for what you will. Linda says, my granddaughter told me, she just said, get out of my room when they came to see her. Oh, I'm guessing you're saying about spirits. Good for her. Yeah, she was 5. Good for her. That's pretty ballsy, and I'm glad that she did that. And Rose said, I will check them out. Thank you. Grounding is my problem. Grounding is not a hard thing to do, Rose. If you happen to share here maybe what's going on, it can be able to help you with that. Some of the things you can do, like Faith Inspired Transformation, or Linda had mentioned, getting out in nature, or taking off your shoes and socks, getting in the earth. You can imagine, now I always just imagine tree roots growing out of my feet. Now, somebody recently shared with me, and I think it's much more powerful, imagining the roots coming from way up in the sky, if you will, from source, and the roots are growing right straight through you into the ground. You can do that. There's lots of different things you can do with grounding. And if you find that something resonates with you, so there's many different ways. I've got a lot of information on it. Rose, I know you're on my friends list, so I'll probably go offline tonight. You should take the night off, but I get caught up tomorrow. Send me a message, please, and I'll be happy to share it with you. Or if there's a lot of you, I do have 2 groups on Facebook, Paranormal University for some of the paranormal things. We've been talking more kind of spiritual than paranormal, but we go where you guys want to go with the conversation. Then I have the Angel Archetype for many of the spiritual things we talked about. I'll be happy to post all those links in there. The group is private, and the only reason is so it's a safe space where people can ask questions, anything you'd like in there. That's what it's about. And yeah, I'll be happy to share it in there. And you guys can access it, take a look at it, share your things if you've got things that you found have worked. Hey, George, nice to see you here. You probably already popped out because we were talking all about the spiritual stuff. Hi, Gwen. Haven't seen you in forever. So nice to see you here. So Debbie says, yes, Boo, Mocha. How could I forget the name? Mocha? That was the name of my son Justin's cat. You said, yes, Boo and Mocha's face that you believe was behind Boo. And I think there's 3. Yeah, I took a bunch of those pictures. I sent them to you. And then I talk about this so many times, every time we talk about animals. So Linda said, takes 2 weeks or so to drive from one end to the other of Canada. You start in Nova Scotia in June or July because it's lobster season, and head to Newfoundland to watch for icebergs. I do have a friend I went to high school, has a very successful business out in Newfoundland. I've never been there, And I will tell you, and I'm sure Linda can concur, faith-inspired transformation. People, depending on where they live in Newfoundland, sometimes I can't understand what they're saying. I remember we had Big Brother Canada. We've had a few contestants. My partner loves those kind of shows. I don't, but he does. That they had people from Newfoundland and they would actually subtitle whenever they spoke because you couldn't understand what they were saying. So Gwen's here. She's from Canada too. And then Linda says, Nova Scotia has the highest tides in the world, and Halifax is the only harbor in the world that doesn't freeze. Even I didn't know that. So that's pretty cool. Rose says, thank you. Debbie says, got to get going. Finish up dinner, hun. Have a great week, everyone. Much love. Right back at you. Well, we've got a few more minutes. So what I'll tell you guys, if you want me to do some readings and you've got a one question reading, that you've got a question for spirit. Sorry, I'm getting stuffed up. See, allergy season's starting already. I pulled out a whack of cards. If that's something you guys want to do, we can do that. We could talk about anything else you guys wanted to talk about. We don't get time to do this because I usually have guests on here, and I used to go live every now and then on my own Facebook channel, but I have just been so busy. Well, that's what I want to ask you guys. Now, most people I have asked have agreed, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. I am finding time is speeding up. And I actually did a little experiment. This was a couple weeks ago. And I happened to notice that it was, I think it was, let's see, I think it was 11:11 a.m. That's what happens to me all the time. I don't look at the clock thinking, okay, there's 11:10. Okay, 11:11's coming. I could just happen to glance at the clock, 11:11. Okay, again, get busy, get my son's lunch ready, doing whatever, look at the clock, 1:11. Okay, same thing. It'll be morning, noon, and night, sometimes 4 times a day. And I never am cognizant of it. I just happen to look at the clock and see those hours. And so I happened to notice it was 11:11 a.m. I marked that time in my mind and I said, I bet you tonight around this time, if I see this time again, it'll seem like it's flown by. And sure enough, holy crap, it felt like there had been about 3 hours and 12 hours had gone by. So when Patterson says, yes, time goes very fast. So Zach says, I see you're reading. I'm going to answer that. Oh, yes, please. Card, please. So I will tell you the more specific you can be with spirit, more specific spirit will be with you. Now, if you just want something general, that's fine too. Laura, your pain levels are very high because you're feeling it in my back and head. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Well, if you are feeling it and you're empathic, you can always just ask yourself if it's yours. And then what I usually do, because I pick up a lot of pain on people too, is I just say return to sender, but I send it with love. And I don't know, I'm not in an agonizing amount of pain, Rose. For those of you that know, yes, I am a chronic pain sufferer. It's just kind of a normal thing. So it's not like I'm in a ton of pain. So I'm sorry if you're picking that up. But I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. So Linda says, I was just doing a major Arcana 3-card spread, quick and to the point. Cool. And then she says, Art Bell wrote a book called The Quickening. This is what we are feeling now. Interesting. I'll have to check that book out. I don't have a lot of time to read, but you know what I love when I find audiobooks? I keep saying this, you guys. They should be signing me up for this because I can't tell you how many people I've shared this with. It's S as in Sam, C as in cat, R as in Richard, B as in boy, D as in dog.com. There's an app for Android as well as iOS and a website. They give you 30 days free. Okay. After that, it's $8.99 US a month. I think it's like $12 almost Canadian. But I am telling you, that is the best book app I have ever found. Unlimited audiobooks, unlimited regular books. You can make lists. You can make all kinds of stuff. It's got sheet music. It's got magazines they're starting to bring in. It's got podcasts. It's got documents. And then it's got like website pieces. It is the best. So even books, especially books that are out of print, I have found so many books. I've even found links to tarot decks, like the Peanuts tarot deck and the Hello Kitty tarot deck that are no longer in print. They have it on there. It is the best app I have ever used, best money I've ever spent. Even my partner Dell, he has his own section in there. He finds stuff that he wants, so he saves it in his list. I just found a book, Jordan Maxwell, because Dell's always researching or watching something, and he was mentioning some books recommended to him as a teenager that are very difficult to find. Stuck it in the app last night. Ding, popped right up. So usually I'll pop on like an audiobook if I'm say not listening to a podcast while I'm doing something else. So that's how I get my reading done, because I love to read. Oh, Michelle, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 1234 a lot. Also, I see your question there, Zach. So hang on. I'm going to head out now. Go. Oh, say hi to Augie. So for those of you who don't know, Augie, who's been on here many times, Augie Nost, him and Nori Love have Broadcast Team Alpha. I believe their podcast is on Tuesday nights. We have the Mastermind right now. So if you want to know more about that, you can look it up on Broadcast Team Alpha. I haven't gone yet, Linda. Please feel free to post the link, because I know you can email the mastermind. Oh God, I used to know this by heart. The mastermind connection, I think it is, at gmail.com. And they get together, they do world meditations, they do all kinds of things. They have done powerful things collectively as human beings. And they meet on Sunday afternoons, Monday nights, and Wednesday nights. So Zach, I want to get to your question. I saw that Jenny Banani said, oh yes, please. So Zach says, I have a question for Spirit if you're willing to do a quick reading for me. Will you be moving out of Arizona sometime soon this year? Yes, I'm hearing, and I'm just going to go with what I'm saying. Please don't be married to this, because I hate giving people timelines or months or whatever, because once I say it, right, then we either expect it to happen or what. But for some reason, I heard the month of July. And what I'm hearing for the reason why is, Zach, because there's been a lot of change. There's been a lot. It will do your soul well. These are the words I'm hearing. To get away from the painful reminders. You've gone through a lot of change this year and a lot of loss. And it will do you well with starting with a fresh slate. So please do not be married to July. I just heard that, so I shared it with you. I do want to pull a card for you. I am hearing angels of abundance for you. So I'm going to pull that for you. You guys, we are almost out of time. Geez, can I talk? Holy cow. Actually, I love doing shows like this because we get to talk about what you guys want to talk about. And it's your show. And I love to get back to you guys, because like I said at the beginning of the show, without all of you, there would be no show for me to do. So you don't know how much I love you all and appreciate you. That's why I like to involve you in the show, because for those listening on the replay, if you ever want to be part of the active show, I say it at the beginning, but I forget to say it towards the end, feel free to go to UFO Paranormal Radio, either the YouTube or Facebook page, and I will be able to see your comments. You know what else I forgot to tell you guys too? This is amazing and wonderful. And I usually say at the beginning, UPRN now has a TV channel on Roku. My show is not on there. I think the first show we're looking at trying out is David and I with the thing at the foot of the bed on Thursdays. But there's amazing shows on there. I don't have a channel code for you. So the easiest way to find it is to go to the channel store on Roku. You're going to go to the search and search for UFO space P as in Peter. And then there's going to be a list that's going to come up. You're going to look for UFO space paranormal and United Public Radio, I think it says. That's our channel. So check it out. Like I said at the beginning of the show, there's something for everybody on our network. And we are getting so many amazing, new, incredible hosts from around the world. Our network just keeps on growing and growing. Okay, Zach, I finally have all my yapping. Just heard stop. Oh, interesting. Moonlighting is the card I got. I pulled from my deck, Angels of Abundance. It says you can start working. I know what you're doing. We've talked about this many times, Zach, so this will mean something to you. You can start working on your dream career part-time while keeping your other job to pay the bills. Soon your dream career will take flight and fully support you. The other thing I'm hearing from Spirit, Zach, choose very carefully, as I know you will, and you're super intelligent, bright guy, but choose very carefully when you're looking to move so that you can make the most of what you've shared with me before, what your dream is, and it will be successful. So whether that means like doing a market study, looking at the population, looking at the trends, looking at a place that will most support where you want to put your energy to help your dream come true. And I know what your dream is. I'm not going to say it. If you want to say it, you can. Okay, so I hope that helps. Let me go back down to the new comments. Zach, I'm not going to get married to the idea, but ironically, I'll be going back to Pennsylvania in July for my mom's celebration of life. Wow. Interesting. I did not know that. So thank you for sharing that. Maybe you're supposed to look at Pennsylvania, Zach. I don't know. I just go with what I hear. And I didn't know because Zach's even joined me. I think the first year on here, my guest canceled as a co-host. I've known Zach for years. So you have to let me know how that goes for you. No, I think it was Jenny Banani. You said you just wanted a card. We got time for a quick reading, and then that's it, you guys. So we're almost out of time. I want you guys to stay tuned though, because Julia was in here quickly. Julia Syracusa, her and her husband Philip Syracusa have the Horsefly Chronicles coming up right after this. They have an amazing show, amazing guest. You're gonna love them. So hang in there for that. So let me see, Jenny Banani. I'm hearing Kyle Gray. I don't know why I'm loving this new deck. I just pulled out all three. Oh, you're so welcome, Zach. I went and pulled out all three of my Kyle Gray decks. I love Kyle. He's just put out a new audio. I think it's like a CD, actually. He's got a beautiful voice and really unusual, sort of more spiritual typed based music, but it's really beautiful. So check it out. And I always find I'm not so good always about going through my email, but he does send out a daily card reading. And when I do read it, it just seems to be the most timely advice. So I really do love him. I think he's amazing in the workshops that he does. And he reminds people, just as I said on here, I'm no better than anybody else, and nor is anybody. We're all equal. We can all access these gifts, but kind of just like some of us are natural born mathematicians, athletes, leaders. It's kind of the same thing with the spiritual gifts as well, but we can all do this. Compassion. Oh boy, I'm getting a whole bunch of information. So this is for you, Jenny Banani. Compassion. What I'm feeling with this, just looking at this card, is looking at really working on the balancing within your life. So as you can tell, there's a real contrast in this woman's beautiful, I think it's a woman, beautiful skin color, and then the white that she is wearing. So really keeping that in mind, as well as building in some flexibility about maybe remembering that there is a gray area, that it doesn't always have to be cut and dried, black and white. The other thing that's really important, hang on, is to really look at what nurtures your soul. So getting out into nature. I'm really hearing gardening for some reason. Oh, good. You're at a block at the moment. Okay. So really getting out into nature. Sorry, I'm trying to turn that the right way. I don't know why I keep hearing gardening. And I know where you are. You're kind of heading into fall. So I don't know if that includes bringing in that botanical type of stuff indoors if you have to, but also spending time out there as well. So by doing this, it's going to help with the grounding, because that's what I'm really feeling this is about, but also with having compassion for yourself. Remember that when we're trying to access those answers, getting into a space of quiet, as well as having compassion and holding space for yourself, you're very good at that. But also showing the universe that you're open to receiving. Many of us are really good at giving, but we're not good at receiving. Example, a friend will call you up, might hear you're having a hard time. And if anybody hears that any of these answers resonate with you, you think, holy crap, that could be a message for me. Guess what? It is. So say a friend calls you up and says, hey, you know what? I just really want to take you out for lunch today. Let's go to this really new, great restaurant, kind of expensive, right? What do most of us say? Oh, no, 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 you don't have to pay. No, no, that's fine. I can pay my own way. Much love, Gwen. She says, a pleasure as always. Much love to you too. So instead of saying no, not having any guilt, because a lot of us would feel guilty, right? We'll say, okay, fine, but you feel bad that someone's taking their hard-earned money when you know maybe you could pay for it yourself. That person did it out of the goodness of their heart, and it's a gift. So accepting it joyfully and saying, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate this, going, enjoying, and having a good time. That's what I mean about showing the universe. And it may not be that example, but showing the universe that you are just as open to receiving as giving. Lastly, and this is for everybody, talk to yourself, talk to your higher self. You don't have to say it out loud, but ask your higher self for help. Ask for help with this block at the moment. Give your angels, your guides, all I call it collectively spirit, that are meant to help you and guide you and are here with you. Ask for their help. Let them know you are open to receiving it. You are open to getting to know them more. That will really go a long way. Well, you guys, we are right out of time. I'm running in almost into Julia and Philip's time. So I want to thank you all for being here. Sending you all so much love and light. You ever want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/Angel Rock. Again, 2 groups on Facebook. Angel Rock Tribe for many of the things we talked about tonight. Also Paranormal University for more of the paranormal things. So if you want to get a hold of me, maybe a guest suggestion, maybe you got a show idea, maybe you want to book a more in-depth reading with me. I do healing work as well. I do mentoring. I help people with the paranormal. I do not charge for that. I pay it forward for the people that helped me years ago. Please stay tuned for next week, same space, same time with the Angel Rock. Remember, there's always a replay, whether it's YouTube, Facebook with the video, or audio, wherever podcasts and talk radio is carried, we are carried. I will see you guys this Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the thing at the foot of the bed with my amazing co-host, David Hansel. See you all in a couple days, okay? Love you all. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you in a couple days. Okay, take care.